Hello everybody. It is Friday the 29th of November. I want to talk about the birth of the Christ and the rock on which the church is built and the Word of God that created. And I want to show you this, not only to show you what actually is happening in the text, but what it is we are doing. Because in looking at what is being said by human beings and what is being done, understanding what's being done by human beings at that time, we gain an understanding of ourselves. We understand what is being done to us and what it is we are doing, because we are playing a very great part in the creation of this. So we need to understand what our part in this actually is. I've been thinking about this, and there are so many channels that are trying to gain an understanding of this religion, Christianity, and going up against it. Many of them do. But they're coming at it from a level of history. Yeah? And I mean, you can do that. You can historically show where these things are coming from, and that they are not quite what you think they are. Or you can go and look at the original text, and really translate it from the original text, and then see that what the church has translated or what they are telling you the text is saying is quite often not what the text actually is saying. So you can show the discrepancies there easily. There's a lot of them. But to me, the problem is on a spiritual level. It is what is happening on a spiritual level. And that is where we need to understand it, where we need to understand ourselves. And as I said, what is being done to us and what it is we're doing. And only then, when we understand it on that level, can we actually create a change. So let me start here. What I believe is the birth of the Christ. And that was not at the conception of Mary, immaculate or otherwise. It was not at his birth. It was not even at his baptism. It is here in Matthew 16. And I'm starting at verse 13. And Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi. He asked his disciples, saying, "Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?" And they said, "Some say thou art John the Baptist, some Elijah, and some Jeremiah, or one of the prophets." Now there's a little interesting point there. They must have believed in reincarnation. Doesn't matter at the moment, but it's an interesting little point. Anyway, he says unto them, "But whom say ye that I am?" And Simon Peter answered and said, "Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus answered and said unto him, "Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven." Right. So, and this is where the Christ is born. This is where the Word of God, supposedly, enters into Jesus via Peter. Yeah? And there is God creates with the Word. The Word enters into the vessel, which is Jesus, which is a human being. It enters into the heart of the vessel, and it is being accepted as truth. And then it creates the being. There are obviously several steps that we have to do. We have to let the Word in. We have to accept it as truth. And we have to start thinking, speaking, and acting according to the truth. And then the outcome is in Jesus, he is the Christ. He knows, I am the Christ. It will have created his being. Yeah, and for that to happen, he has to do away with all other possibilities of what he might be. He cannot go by his own knowing, but he has to accept the word of God that says, thou art the Christ. And then, it will first of all create him, and then when he has energetically become that being, he is that, he knows himself in that way, then whatever happens outside will be added onto him. That's what the teaching says. He will receive according to what he has created himself into. Now, I leave the next, but now I just want to talk about the rock of the church first. Because he says next, and I say also unto thee, thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. So again, the church, especially the Roman Catholic Church, said, Peter is the rock, and he's not. Jesus changes his name from Simon to Peter. Now, I've heard just a few days ago that was a practice, that when a disciple reaches a new level of understanding or of knowledge, that he receives a new name, to signify that change. And I think that's what happened there. So he gives a new name to Simon, he's now Peter, but then he says, and upon this rock I shall build my church, and that is not referring to Peter, but it is referring to the Word of God. It is the Word of God that is the rock, the truth that you need to accept. And on that rock I will build my church. Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. That is the rock on which, the Word of God on which the church is built. Jesus is the Christ. That is the rock. And again, then the same process that happened with Jesus himself has to happen all over again. You have to let that in. You have to make it a truth inside of yourself. You have to think, speak, and act according to Jesus is the Christ. It will create your being. You will become the follower of Christ. That is what it will create in you. You are that which believes on him and follows him. So that is what a Christian is, and many Christians have become that. And again, the same as Jesus, you are not to question. You are to, you cannot accept any other possibility. Again, it can only be the one. Jesus is the Christ. And you cannot go by your own knowing. Same process is happening over and over again. And it will create the being that is pretty much the mindless follower of Jesus. Now, for this entire process to happen, there are actually some very big assumptions in this. First assumption that Jesus made was that that word came from his source. And again, let's make very clear, we are talking about a being, a consciousness. Yeah? If there's something out there that has got a perception of itself, that has got a judgment of itself, that has got desires and intentions, then we are not talking about the all. But we are talking about one part, a being, a consciousness. And the same as us. And again, we are elevating that consciousness to rule over us. We are believing that it is greater than us, and we must do according to what it tells us. But I mean, even the assumption that that is where it came from, yeah? And it could not have come from anywhere else. Well, I mean, they were living in a messianic age. Yeah, there would have been discussions about messiahs all over the place. So to say Peter could not have heard it anywhere else, that's a great assumption. And then as Christians, you have to make, again, very great assumptions. The first one is, of course, that God, the source of Jesus, is all there is. There is no other. And if you believe that it is a consciousness, it is a being, to believe there is only one other being apart from humanity itself, of course. I mean, most of us would not believe that. Yeah, most of us would think there's other forms of life out there. And there's definitely more than one other, most likely. So that's a very big assumption we have to make. And it is the only one. And that Jesus is the only Christ. There is no other possibility. Again, you are actually doing away with all other possibilities. Actively denying everything else that might be out there. You're not even looking at it. You're not allowed to look at it. At other possibilities. You must believe that is the only way, and you must follow it. So you yourself are actually restricting your own possibilities by allowing this in as the only truth. And here's is really the last bit, and that is, well, there's one other bit, and that is for Christians in this world. Yeah? Did they receive the word by divine inspiration? Because for most Christians, no, it didn't come from there. It came from your parents, the church. If you are brought up in a Christian household, probably everybody around you that you're connected to, it will come from there. It'll be drilled into you, from a baby from the cradle to the grave, really. So there's, again, it shows something, and that is that the word does not have to be divinely inspired. But that you can hear it in this world. The point is that you are letting it in, and you are allowing it to be the only truth inside of you, and you are allowing it to create you. And that is the part that you are playing in all of this. You are opening the door to let the Spirit into your vessel and create. And then again, according to what you become, everything else will be added onto you. You have, I don't know how many, 2 billion Christians that are creating out of their being in this world. It's not good. It really is not good. But then there's a last point, and that is where you have free will. Where you have absolutely got free will, and you can, there are other teachings out there, there's other ways you can think about this. We need a new perspective anyway. But it is up to you what you let enter in. Again, there is the false teaching of Christianity that you must, that there is no other way, that you actually do not have a choice. In fact, if you choose any other way, you're going to hell. There is again, why are you opening that door? Because you love Jesus so much, or is it your fear of hellfire and damnation? Because that threat is there, and it's not being given out of compassion, I tell you that. But there's your choice. Are you letting that in? Are you working it within yourself? Are you actively restricting all other possibilities, and are you becoming? Because it is creating you, make no mistake, that teaching is creating you. And do you want to be the blind, indiscriminate follower that takes in everything as truth and does as they are told without any thought or any knowledge of your own? Is that what you actually want to become? Especially as we are created as beings. We are beings that are capable of knowledge, of reason, of judgment. Are you giving all of that away to give power to God, to a God? And again, there's a being somewhere out there. You're giving all your power to him, and that is the only reason why God has power. Because you are giving it to him. Not because he's got great power of its own. If you were to close that door, there's nothing God could do. If he cannot reach into, if that word, if that thought cannot reach into your core and create, there's nothing God can do. They are not all powerful beings. It is you that is opening the door to let this thing in. That is what you are doing. And with that, you are giving all the power to God. And that is what makes him powerful. Because you are giving it to him. So, ask yourself, is that actually your truth? Or what truth is it you want to let in to create inside of you? What is it you actually want to run with? Because that is your choice. There is the point where you have absolute freedom and self-determination. You have the self-determination to create yourself according to what it is you're letting in. But then you are the judge. You are the judge. Is that what? That is where we are here at a crossroads. I mean, first of all, understanding what it is we're actually doing, what it is we're being taught as the only truth, that we are letting it in, that it is creating us, it is creating humanity, and is that the way we want to go? Or do we want to have freedom and self-determination? And first of all, we need to understand what it is we're doing. That is what Jesus did, and that is what Christians do afterwards. It's the same mechanism over and over and over again. And this world is what it creates. Anyway, here folks, I'll leave it at that for today. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.